Are you tired of letting Instagram posts die unnoticed and unseen day in and day out? Today, we will talk about how to write better Instagram posts and captions to turn your followers into clients and to bring more paying clients into your DMs. The thing is, you have a great idea for a post in your mind, but how do you get across it to people? You want to have an impact with your coaching business, but and social media is a great way, but we have to learn how to get people to stop ignoring us. And the reality is, copywriting is at the heart of our business. We need to learn to use the power of words to get people to stop scrolling and engage with the content that we are posting. And here's the secret: captions are assembled, they are not written. And Laura is showing us today a simple formula to turn your followers into clients with Instagram captions that grab your attention, that boost engagement, and that bring paying clients into your DMs. And Laura, before I give you a second to introduce yourself, I want to make sure for everyone who's watching us right now that we're not wasting your time. So this live is for you if you're ready to think about the words that you're going to choose when you write a post. If you're ready to recognize that the headline is the most important part of your post, and if you're ready to try new things and do things differently, even though they may feel a little bit icky at first because you're doing it for the first time. On the other hand, you will probably waste your time if you have enough likes, enough comments, and enough clients. If you are this person, please DM me. I want to know what you're doing. If you think choosing your words doesn't matter at all, then you will probably also not get the most of our conversation. And if you're sitting there for us to finally reveal the hidden secret to eternal Instagram glory, we will probably also disappoint you. With all that out of the way, Laura, first, thank you so much for being here. And second, how have you developed some of the solutions that you are going to share with us? And what mistakes have you made?
Thank you so much for having me. It is really an honor and a pleasure being here. I love getting to share this with your audience. So thank you so much for that. As you know, I began my career as a copywriter, and I've worked for copywriting agencies before building my own copywriting agency. Now I have a done for you content service. So this has really been something that's been a skill that I've mastered over years and years and years of writing for many different coaches at many different levels. We're talking 7 and 8 figure coaches or brand new, just starting their business coaches, also working with consultants, high level experts in their field, and really to some extent, just knowing paying attention to what's working and what's not working, what's leading to DMs and what's not leading to DMs. And so, I always write with this goal of bringing people into my DMs so that I can sell. That's the kind of writing I want to do. So I've never been focused on growth for the sake of growth. I want to bring in the right people who are going to convert, who are going to engage, who are going to like, who are going to comment, who are going to participate, and who are going to come into the DMs. So it's really been an evolution of practice and skill and training and a little bit of finding what works and what doesn't work. Systematically testing is probably a better way to say just experimenting.
Yeah. What I really love is that you're not, oh, I've written this copywriting book and now I'm creating YouTube videos or Instagram posts about how to create copywriting, but you're actually somebody who has been in the trenches, who has tried things, and you have so much experience about this. And before we go a little bit deeper into the content, you mentioned the idea of getting followers just for the sake of getting followers. And for everyone who's watching right now, are you team, I need a huge following before I can start coaching? Or have you already realized I need just a couple, but the right engaged ones? So let me know. Big, huge following that is always silent, or small but super engaged. And
I'll spoil that. Small but super engaged.
I mean, I've spoiled it already in a way, but sometimes I'm curious. I want to know. For me as a coach, I often think about the thing before the thing. So my question
Yes.
for you is, before I can write great captions, what do I need to do? How can I prepare myself?
That is such a good question. And I'm glad that you're thinking that way. That's actually one of the things that a lot of people are missing from their content and missing from their copy that's keeping them from getting more conversions. You do get to do a little bit of market research. Now, that word kind of scares people because they think that it's like bringing people into a room and asking them a lot of questions, and it's not that at all. Here's my rule for market research. I think you need to know 3 things about your ideal client. You need to know what they know, you need to know what they think, and you need to know what they feel. Know what they know what they think, and know what they feel. Once you know those things, you have a really good handle on your clients. But you need to know if they have any knowledge or knowledge gaps that you need to close for them. So, for example, if you're a health coach and you're talking about macronutrients and your ideal client has never heard the word macronutrients, your message is going to fall flat. So you need to know what they know. You need to know what they think. So if they think, oh, I have to, work out at least an hour a day to be fit, or, oh, I can't ever have pizza and be fit, you need to know what they think, right? And you need to know what they feel. Most specifically, you need to know the pain points that they're feeling, the pain that they're feeling around their problems, their frustrations, their insecurities, their fears, their self-doubts, all of those pain points. So those would be the things that you get to do to prepare in advance is know what they know what they think, and know what they feel.
And one of the super common mistakes that I see from the coach's perspective is often that coaches are very enthusiastic about the idea of, I have to change their mindset, their relationship with food. And no doubt it's super important, but a lot of clients are not there yet. They're asking about, what should I eat? What is the best diet? And then coaches talk about how the stories in your mind shape your reality. And they're thinking, should I eat this bread or this bread? So I totally can relate to that. And can you give us a couple of simple, maybe day-to-day exercises or tools or strategies of how can we develop this know, think, and feel thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I think you do really well, Robin, is you stay in conversation with your audience. You pull them, you ask them questions. Even just now, a few minutes ago, you asked them, do you think you need a big following or a small, highly engaged following? So you're constantly talking to them and finding out where they're at so that you can meet them where they're at. Now, you've been doing this a while and you kind of know what you're doing. So for somebody who's maybe just first starting out, I recommend either, doing what you're doing, but also you can have market research calls on like a video market research calls. Most people would be really happy to help you out. You can go look inside of Facebook groups or Reddit groups or Quora groups and kind of go to where they're already at and where they're already asking questions and see what they know, what they think, what they feel. And then a surprising one that not a lot of people use, but is incredibly insightful is Amazon book reviews. So if you go, like people just pour their heart out into Amazon book reviews. So, let's say, I don't know, what's a really common diet book or book in the fitness industry that people read?
Oh God.
There's so many. I can't even think of what's the most
Probably
popular
something
one.
related to keto. or
Right.
low
Okay.
carb?
So like if you go to the latest keto book and you scroll down to the reviews, I promise you there's going to be some people in there that are like, I liked this about it, but I didn't like this and I was confused about this and this bothered me. So you're going to get a lot of really juicy stuff there. The key in doing all of this is documenting all that. So whether you're polling people or going into Facebook groups or going into Amazon book reviews, is I want you to have a document. And for me, what this really looks like is having a page with all of my clients' pain points on one side and all of the things my client desires or wants on the other side of that document. So
Mhm.
then when I'm going to write a post or write a piece of content, I can pull that up and it's not just me making up something about what you're thinking or believing or feeling. It's like, oh, a pain point my ideal client has is knowing what bread to eat. So I'm gonna, is they feel confused about which bread to eat. So I'm gonna write about that because it's in my document. And I'm constantly adding to that document as you do begin working with clients. The questions that they ask you can go into that document, the pain points they feel on sales calls or in sessions with you, all of that will really start to beef up those documents and you'll never run out of content ideas.
Yeah, one of the most helpful exercises that I learned from John Barani, the founder of Precision Nutrition, is always ask yourself, what are you talking about the most with your clients?
Mhm.
To keep track, what are the questions that always come up? What are the topics that always come up? Because what is always coming up is something that they struggle with, that is constantly on their mind. And when you talk about this in your social media, then, oh yeah, this person suddenly understands me. Finally, somebody who talks my language.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm curious, from your experience working with coaches, why do you think we or so many other people struggle with writing good captions?
Hmm. I think because we're in our head so much about our work and we're thinking about it all the time and we're doing it all about it all the time. And we've come so far that it's easy to kind of lose that beginner mindset or that beginner thinking. Like if we're speaking to somebody who's not as far along as us, it's easy for us to rush in and be like, oh, I'm so excited about fitness and nutrients and nutrition and all of these things. Let me show you this. And the person's sitting there like barely dipping their toe in the water at this, and they're just not there yet. They're just not ready for it. And so I think if we're kind of in our head about it and we have all the different things that we think about and that we talk about and it's all sort of jumbled up and we're excited about it all, then it just kind of comes out as like disorganized or we I think start feeling scattered in our message. We don't feel like it's clear, we don't feel like it's organized, and then our audience certainly doesn't. So that's the other thing, not to overstate the power of this pain list and result
Yeah,
list, but
yeah.
that's one thing is it's like getting it down and getting it organized can help us keep it really, really clear in our mind what we're talking about consistently.
And I can just highlight this so much. Just getting into the rhythm of producing content and especially the longer YouTube videos, the biggest challenge is not coming up with an idea, but to actually get my thoughts straight of what I want to say and how I want to say it. So writing really helped me to clarify a lot of the ideas that I have about coaching. So I absolutely love it. Do you have some easy, quick fixes? So for those who are watching right now, that they can implement today to maybe get started to untangle these thoughts?
Well, to untangle all of the thoughts, I would 100% just write those down, right? Write those lists down, write those pain points, making sure that you're always speaking to those problems and those pain points. That's going to be sometimes. And I think of this, I tell my clients this even when they're just coming up with ideas. Oh, this post and this post and this post and this post, and they're all just kind of living and swimming in their head. It's like you've just got to give that idea a place to live. You've just got to give that pain point a place to live. You don't have to write the full post right now, but just go ahead and get it in a document, get it down, let it know you'll come back to it. Personally, I have kind of a project management board that I use in Notion that's just ideas. And it's just, I just idea, 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 idea. And I have a parking spot for it so that that kind of allows myself the mental space to focus on the piece of content I'm creating right now versus like all the ideas that are in my head.
And I do something similar. I have Google Notes, and I'm constantly just. For example, just today I posted a very simple checklist of this and that, and this idea has been marinating in my head for weeks, and I just couldn't really visualize and think about how I can. But I constantly added ideas of, oh, I could do this and do this. And suddenly this morning, something magically happened and the idea came to me. So I really love the idea of capturing these ideas. The other day you were on a podcast with Nicole Kramer, that I really enjoyed. And you talked about the importance of creating emotions in our posts.
Yes.
And maybe I'm just sharing now a limiting belief, but I am, as a physicist and mathematician, how can I develop the ability to create emotions, or at least double check if I haven't been too analytical in my posts?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think the first step is just the awareness, right? Is that people buy on emotion, right? They back up their purchasing decisions with logic, but they make the decision on emotion. And so we know that emotion is what's driving us making decisions in our lives of any type, really. We do things in our life to either move away from pain or move toward pleasure, right? That's kind of how we make our day-to-day decisions in our lives, including our buying decisions. And the reality of that is that actually most people are significantly more motivated by removing pain than they are by moving toward pleasure. So if you're if you're more analytical and you're just starting to master really speaking to that emotion and that content, you'd probably do yourself some good to focus more on mastering speaking to those pain points and speaking to those problems. And then that goes back to, remember I said, know what your client knows, know what they think, and know what they feel. It goes back to knowing what they feel. They're going to be feeling frustrated. They're going to be feeling self-doubt. More than likely, you feel those same feelings, right? Mm-hmm. You are almost always your best client. And so one of the first writing activities and I do have a framework to share today, a formula that'll make it easy for you. But even before that, one of the first writing activities I always tell my students to do is what I call a self-coaching post, where you're literally taking a pen or a piece of paper and you're writing to yourself and how you're feeling. So if you're feeling frustrated by something, or you're feeling a lot of self-doubt, or you're feeling a lot of insecurity around those actions, or maybe even think about how you were feeling, right? If you've been through the same experiences as those clients, and write to you, sometimes that's a really good first step to just connect with those emotions. And like I said, if you're just kind of getting started bringing more emotion to content, lean toward connecting with those pain points, because that's going to be more motivating to people.
And what my experience with working with coaches is, many of us have gone into the health and fitness industry because we had struggles and we didn't find solutions for ourselves. And this is something that I work with coaches very often as well. Who were you 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago? And how did you feel? And what was to create the coaching package in the end? What was the solution that actually made the difference for you?
Yes.
And then you have, there was this, and suddenly there was this bright light, and finally my bright future came into play. So I really, really love the idea. And
Well, and we're talking about, getting more likes and really buyers on Instagram, and that's also what's going to make you stand out, right? Because you experience a lot of things that were frustrating for you or were painful for you or didn't work for you. All of those things are what your ideal client has probably tried, or they're looking at trying, or they're thinking about trying, and all of your competitors are probably teaching or offering a lot of that same stuff that didn't work for you.
Mhm.
And so, if you're really clear about how you do it differently and how your solution is special and how it's not like the all of the pain that they've gone through before, right? That they're not going to have to, you know, give up all carbs or whatever that you tried and didn't work, then that's going to make you stand out. And especially on a place like Instagram, I feel like, I know standing out's like half the battle. Getting their attention's half the battle. You've got to get their attention first before they're going to see your message. So if you're coming at it with something that's unique or different about your approach from the get-go, and really throwing stones at what didn't work for you, that's going to automatically be speaking to that emotion and that frustration of trying the things that didn't work.
And what I had to realize, both as a coach and now working with coaches, is these even busy moms are such a spectrum from
Mm.
super fit, have always been in the fitness industry, and now their body feels very different from, oh, maybe I try for the first time eating better because I notice my children are copying me. So there's, even if you focus on this very tiny niche of busy moms, you
Yeah.
still have such a broad spectrum, and your personal experience will resonate with a lot of people in this niche already. So I really love that.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. There's a big difference between the busy mom who's been a chronic dieter for years and
mhm.
never seen results, and the busy mom who's never been aware of her food. I mean, all different kinds. So, yeah, that goes back to really knowing your person and not being afraid to niche down and speaking really clearly and directly to your person. And as much as that feels like we're limiting who will work with us or who will follow us or who will like our posts, it's actually going to really increase our results because they're going to feel like we're speaking directly to them.
um, but from there, we have now prepared a lot of stuff. We are mentally clear. We have our brain dump where we can collect all our solutions. Now the question is, what should be the first sentence and the sentence after that and the sentence after that? So we
Yeah.
finally get all the clients.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you asked. I actually have a 5-step process for writing. I'm going to call it a perfect Instagram caption
Ooh, yes.
that I want to share with you. So here's my 5 steps for that. The first step, of course, you have to start with the hook. I think you and I talked last time. The first line of every copy is always the most important because we have to grab their attention. On Instagram, this is even more true because they're only going to see the first 125 characters and then they're
Mhm.
going to have to click read more to read more. So we really have to grab their attention in the first 125 characters if they're going to read any more of what we write. So it's really important. So I'm going to give you 2 types of hooks that you can use that are tried and true and will work. The first one, and they work for the same reason actually. The first one is to ask a question,
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
second one is to create a bold or polarizing statement, right? And the reason why both of these work is they what they call create an open loop in our mind, right? So if we see a question, our brains are natural problem solvers. That's
Mhm.
what they want to do. They want to answer questions. They want answers to questions. They want to solve problems. So if you ask a question or if our brain sees a question, it's natural that it's going to want the answer to that question, right? That's why even we'll be sitting around the table. Tell me if you ever have this experience. You're sitting around the table and somebody mentioned something obscure like, you know, when did this happen or whatever, and you find yourself Googling it because your brain just has to know the answer, even though it doesn't really matter in a way. That's like creating that open loop. The same thing happens if we use a polarizing statement. So if I were to say, you know, stop counting your calories, right? And I know my ideal client probably has spent their whole life counting calories and dieting. They're going to be like, oh, I've never heard that before. That sounds completely different than anything I've got to. That's creating an open loop in my brain that I've got to find out the answer to why Robin would say that. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's the best way to write a hook, is to kind of think about creating that open loop that our brain's just going to naturally want the answer to close.
And it's so funny. I always watch on YouTube what I click on and why. That's just my, and the other day I actually clicked on a video that made that exactly that. The title was "Stop Asking to Subscribe."
Yes.
What? All I'm doing all the time is subscribe, please. And now there's this title with "Stop asking them to subscribe." It was painful. I knew what they were doing. Whoa, hi. Something in my living room. Okay.
And so that is such a powerful open loop that even after you say that, I'm like, oh, I need to go find that video. I want to know. Like, now I want to know why they say don't subscribe. So that's a really good example of creating an open loop.
From there, we have the open loop. How do we keep their attention?
Yeah. So once we've hooked them in with that, the second one is to build rapport with where they're at. So what I mean by this is empathize with what we're going to call their point A. Their point A is where they're at, right? We're going to take them to point B. We'll get to that later. But point A is where we're at, and we're going to empathize with that. We're going to build rapport with that. In this section, and by the way, there are 5 steps here, but Instagram captions tend to perform better when they're shorter. So think about each of these being 1 sentence or 2 max. And so use words in this one where you're building rapport with where they're at, their point A. Use words like feel, felt, or found, right? So when I was, overweight, I felt like I was ashamed to go to my daughter's soccer games, right? Or, I feel, or you may feel like everybody is judging you, or I found it really hard to go shopping for new clothes, right? So you want to use words like feel, felt, or found. That's going to help you connect with that emotion, that pain point, and empathize and build rapport with where they're at now, that point A place.
From there.
Yep. From there, we're going to go to, we're going to point out the problem with their current thinking of that approach, right? So they think, oh, I have to intermittent fast, or I have to, whatever they think they have to do. And you're going to point out, that doesn't work for these reasons. This is where you go, the problem with asking people to subscribe, I don't know what he said there, but the problem with asking people to subscribe is, it sounds really cheesy and it makes them feel like you just are in it to grow your channel. And I don't know what he said, but you're saying this is why it doesn't work to do it that way. This is why your thinking about the problem is wrong. You want to give them a perspective shift. This is another key to setting yourself apart from everyone else, is you're saying, I'm not just telling you what to do. I'm not just telling you to drink more water. I'm not just telling you to, track your nutrients. I'm changing the way you think about your health and the way you think about nutrition. I'm telling you, actually, what you think about the problem is not the actual thing to think about the problem. After that, so step 1 was to hook them. Step 2 was to build rapport. Step 3 was point out the problem with the current approach. Step 3. Step 4 is to introduce them to your better solution, your point. This is where you say, the better way is to eat plant-based. I don't know if you're a plant-based nutrition
Mhm.
coach. The better way is to just eat plant-based, right? Or the better way is to do it this way. And this is where you really start using a copy hack that us copywriters tend to call future pacing,
Mhm.
where we say, because when you eat plant-based, you're going to feel full and you're going to be able to eat as much food and volume as you want. And you're going to all of the things, it's going to help them, all of the things that they're going to feel. Again, we're using that
Mhm.
feeling, that emotion when they do it your way.
Mm.
So you're taking them from the point A of this is where you're at, this is where you're feeling now. Here's why it's not working to solve that. Point B, here's the better way that's going to make you feel this other better way. And then
And
finally, we're going to
sorry.
wrap it all up. Oh, go ahead.
No, no. For
Okay.
me, it was very similar to what we do in discovery calls. We try to
Mm.
build the contrast between, so how does your current situation make you feel? Where would you like to be and how does it make you feel? And then you're building this, oh, I feel so terrible, to, oh, that would be so amazing. I could do all of this. And it's
Yes.
essentially the same thing, but in written form.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so and because this formula is only 5 steps, you can pack a lot of emotion into really 5 5 to 7 sentences, which is a great length for an Instagram caption. The last step is really simple. It's your call to action. But I want it to be really clear and really direct. Now, I get on social media, you're probably not going to be calling them to DM you to find out about your program every single time, but I still want you to get in the habit of calling them to action, to comment, to answer a question, to save the post for later so that they have the valuable information. Start getting those micro yeses that they're and asking for that engagement, because it really does help.
And for me, really the key is if they start to comment, they make themselves visible, and then you have an opportunity to either continue the conversation in the comments,
Mhm.
or very often you could say, oh, I can't really answer this here, it's too, the space is too limited, or I would like to share with you. And then you can move into the DMs where you can then continue the conversation and build the connection. And that I think is so, so important.
Yeah. So there's your 5 steps to
Woohoo!
writing the perfect Instagram caption.
But I noticed something. So when you're talking about this formula, I
Uh-huh.
immediately have thoughts in my head about, oh, this previous post that could do some improvement, or this is something that could add a line or whatever. Do you have some tips of how we can use old posts that didn't perform so well
Yeah.
and reuse them now with
Yeah.
improved
Yeah,
captions?
totally. I'm actually a big advocate of repurposing our content. One, as you pointed out, it gives us a chance to come back at it, improve them, and reuse them that way. But also, just so that we don't feel like we're having to create so much new content all the time or write so much all the time. And yeah, I go back and I repurpose posts that I think could have been done better. And so I'll write them a little bit different. I also love to repurpose the ones that I know did really well.
Mhm.
And I love to take even a piece of content like this and create little clips and snippets and things like that, because it just makes it so much easier on us when to create quality content, which you and I both know is really the goal here, to produce quality stuff when we don't feel the pressure of having to come up with something new
Mhm.
every single day. So I'm a big fan of, yeah, take, and if you posted something yesterday that you're going, oh man, it could have been better, repost it in 6 months or 3 months with this, with a new caption. Or even if you recently did a video or recently did a post that you want to repurpose, I would regularly get in the habit of repurposing and recycling and taking a piece of content like a video or maybe a longer post or breaking it up. You can also take a post like this and make it, instead of a longer caption, you can make it a carousel, right? So there's different ways, or a reel. So instead of trying to like get on this hamster wheel of constantly creating new, just get in the practice of repurposing and reusing and recycling your content.
And one thing that I start to notice more and more, I have the client work, I have the YouTube video, and then I notice, okay, I have posts, stories, Instagram reels,
Mhm.
carousels, Instagram lives, YouTube videos, shorts, and I feel like I'm constantly just even repurposing can take so much time. And then there's this, oh, the writing, I want to speak and not write all the time.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Remedia Wave?
Yeah. Well, I had the exact same problem that you're talking about. And that is really why I created Remedia Wave, which essentially is a content repurposing service. So, what we do is we take a piece of content like this and we chop it up for you into clips and snips and images. So, like a podcast episode like this, we'll take and we'll trim into little, like minute long video clips that you can put on your Instagram feed. And we'll make you 5 of those in square and 5 of those in vertical. And we'll make images. And so you're taking one piece of content like this and turning it into dozens of assets and dozens of posts. And we give you like a transcription and some things that actually make your writing a lot easier too, because when you're sometimes the hardest part of writing is writing from scratch,
No,
right? It's
yeah.
just the empty blank cursor. So when you've got all these little tiny video clips that do really well on social media, and you've got all of these images, plus you have the transcript of all of the words, it's really easy to take one piece of content like this and turn it into, sometimes weeks or even months worth of posts, depending on how much you can get out of it. So that's what we do, is we create all of those assets for you so that you don't have to.
And just from personal experience, I can't tell everyone who's watching how much time something simple like we created in square and we created in vertical, because if you try to create it yourself, every time it's a new video document, every time you have to convert it again, and then you have to make sure, is it actually in the right dimensions and does it look nice in my Instagram feed, and I have to upload it with two shorts here and there, and it can take so much time. And for everyone who's watching, I highly recommend that you check Laura's Remedia Wave out. I will leave the link in the description. And Laura, I have one more question for you. If maybe a content service is not the right move yet, because we don't have long form articles or videos, can you help everyone out with the simple idea of grabbing the attention of people?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I do have 283 headline templates that you can have for free. And you can and I think Robin has the link for that you can share with them.
Yeah.
But you can use that to start with that, grabbing that question, grabbing their attention, using that hook that's going to get them to read your post. The other thing that I'm just about to come out with, that I'll give you guys a little advanced thing, is I do have that. I mentioned earlier that I plan my content in Notion. I'm actually giving people my my content planning template in Notion that I use for planning all of my content. So
Yeah.
I can send you over the link to get that too, or you can send me a message and I'm happy to send that to you. So a couple of freebies if you're just getting started and want to plan your content and grab attention, we can help you get started with that.
Yeah. And for everyone who's watching, one of the headlines from the 283 inspired the headline of this video. So it works, obviously, if you're watching until now. Laura, thank you so much for being with us. For everyone who's watching, all the links are in the description. And I wish everyone a great day and have fun creating content, play around with the formula, get your own style, and be patient with yourself. writing is difficult for a lot of us.
Thank you
Bye.
so much for having me. Bye.